Let's bring on our guest. You know his name. He's the best out there. He's a big fan of George Michael's and Wham. Frank Analysis is here with us. How you doing, Frank?
What's up? How are you guys doing? It's great to be here.
Thank you for
I
being
don't know.
here.
I don't know who that guy is that
I
talks
know.
about
You don't know who Wham is?
You don't know who George Michael is?
Come on. What the hell? How old are you?
Wake me up before you go. So
Huh?
usually I tell these jokes with boomers or Generation X's. I forgot. I got a Z. What do you call them?
Gen Z?
generation? Gen Z? Or?
Are you Gen Z?
I'm not Gen Z. I guess I'm at the cusp. I'm from 1993. So I think after 96 you're a Zoomer, if I'm not
Yeah, you're
mistaken.
millennial, but you're like
Yeah.
almost a Zoomer.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you're like Johnny.
I graduated high school in 91. Jesus Christmas.
Johnny's right at the cusp, right? He's like
94. He's 94.
Yeah, we call him Johnny
Okay.
Cusp. Well, let's get into it. He's going to be our co-host today. Frank Analysis, thank you so much. It was great seeing you at the Force the Vote event in Washington, D.C. We all spoke. We went over to the Assange event, so we got to meet the man in person. Thank you for joining us, man. You've been on fire lately. Your show, Frank Analysis, has been awesome. I like the idea of you bringing in educated people and fans of the show and getting their analysis. It's been very intriguing watching your shows of late. And I don't know what it is, buddy, but you got a way of tickling those people up above you to come down and get mad at you with your tweets. Even when Max Blumenthal met you and we were standing right there in Action for Assange in front of the State Department, he goes, "Wow, Frank, you got a way of really pissing some people off." So I think it's kind of great that you've been able to tap in there and get those people like Mickey Kantz and other people like Jordan to get mad and
Anna
attack you.
Kasparian,
Yeah, Anna. Oh, God.
I've seen Jank respond to random people though, but if they're responding because they feel guilty because people are calling them out for their bullshit.
Yeah. So we're going to go right to Section 3 then? We're going to skip over Section 2?
Yeah,
Let's
we'll
do
go
it.
back to it.
All right, so we'll go over to Section 3 right now, and we're going to talk about your favorite person in politics, Frank. AOC.
Mhm.
No? It's not
Yeah.
your fave?
So, Frank, I don't know if I'm
No.
going crazy, but because all these people on the whatever, the boutique left or the Sam Cedar left, they're all saying like, we criticize AOC too much. Like, she can never do any right by us, and like that, we're wrong, that she's an ally, right? That she's here for us, and that she's doing what she can within a very corrupt system. This is what they're saying, and like. They're like, you can't, AOC goes to a union protest and you guys tear her down. She just doesn't do anything wrong. And they're saying we're mocking her situation where she feels like her life was threatened, right? And I did laugh at several points because either I'm crazy or she's being really disingenuous. And I just don't know. I asked them, like, am I crazy? Because she seems extremely disingenuous. So she had a date with MSNBC, and she went on and she did this whole video and she said Biden had a good faith openness and relationship to activist community, saying we are not going to be resistant to grassroots movement, but we're going to collaborate with grassroots movements to create as many jobs and as much justice as possible. So she's over here on MSNBC pretty much carrying water for Joe Biden administration and how he is doing operating with good faith, openness, and a relationship with activist communities. I just want to know, do you feel like Joe Biden has been doing any of that? What are your thoughts on her doing this on mainstream media?
So that was absolute gaslighting nonsense. Like she is saying that about the guy who said that he will not ban fracking, and then he said, I'll repeat that, I will not ban fracking. Joe Biden is not even for the Green New Deal, and that doesn't even ban fracking. So let's talk about the part which AOC said that we are going to work with grassroots movements and activist communities. Joe Biden put Cedric Richmond as the director of public engagement, a man who received roughly $341,000 from donors in the oil and gas industry, the fifth highest total among House Democrats. This is according to an article by Sludge. So if we are trying to mitigate climate change with the aid of activist groups, how is having a man like that, who is going to be in charge of interacting with interest groups, going to help us mitigate climate change, if that completely conflates with the interests of his donors in the oil and gas industry? And then we also have John Kerry, John Kerry, who Joe Biden put as the special presidential envoy for climate, John Kerry thinks that we can combat climate change by increasing military tensions with China and Russia. So I was reading an article a couple weeks back by Mint Press News by Alan McLeod, which talks about John Kerry talking to this Washington think tank called the American Security Project, ASP. And then he said that the 3 priorities as Biden's right-hand man is to have, number 1, have a huge rebuilding of the United States military bases across the world. Number 2, countering China in the Pacific. Number 3, preparing for a war with Russia in the newly melted Arctic. So it makes absolutely no sense to me. And Biden having these picks who will serve the military industrial complex, who are the top contributors to climate change and environmental destruction, and fossil fuel companies, that tells me he's not serious about mitigating climate change or working with activists. So AOC is covering for him. Therefore, she is covering for corporations because that's who Joe Biden represents, and that's who his administration represents.
Yeah. Let me play devil's advocate here, and I want your 2 opinions on this, guys. What do you say to the people that say, no, AOC is doing what she can, she's going to reach for the stars, and she's going to settle for incrementalism, thinking that she'll get something from Joe Biden, that she honestly believes that she's acting in good faith because she believes that she can work more with Biden rather than Trump, who is a complete fascist? I mean, is there any sense of like maybe she's trying to be genuine and trying to get something done, or you guys believe it's completely just an act?
Go ahead, Frank.
I would say it's just an act. Like she wants to network with people in her party. She wants these like committee positions. But I mean, when has incrementalism ever worked? It doesn't work for us. It works for the rich elite who pay these politicians.
Right.
We get incrementalism in the other direction.
I think we're at a breaking point right now where I mean, we were in a pandemic, whether, you know, you think it was pandemic worthy or not. The economy shut down. It still is shut down in many large sectors. We're still not completely running. We have people who haven't paid rent. We have people who are completely unemployed, who lost their health insurance. So we have more uninsured people, more homeless people, more poor people. And then you have this happen in the market where you have Wall Street speculation happening again, and the elites being able to change and manipulate the market to uphold them, to benefit them. And the little people get screwed again. So you're seeing in real time the decline and fall of an empire. And if I considered myself a socialist, like AOC considers herself a socialist, and I was a congresswoman, I would use right now the anger, not in a very manipulative way, but in a real way, the anger of the people of the working class who are seeing these manipulations and this very just lack of care for basic human rights, this disdain for the working people of America. They know that they can get away with this because they've gotten away with it before, and they have been rewarded dutifully for being corrupt. And so if I were her, what I would be doing right now is organizing a mass general strike to bring back Glass-Steagall, to literally overturn Citizens United, to say go $2,000 in every home right now for the next year. I would go and say Medicare for all right now. We're gonna stop this economy just like we were holding our stocks. We're gonna stop this economy. We're gonna shut everything down, and we're gonna do this together. Me and the squad. We're gonna help you guys. We're going to provide through mutual aid, all of these things that are very socialist that could be done. She is not doing them. Instead, she is appearing on highly, highly paid MSNBC, CNN, propaganda, state media machine, and carrying water for Joe Biden and the Biden administration. And if she ever has the opportunity to do something like worthwhile, like maybe speak out for a union to offer $1 of a raise, she does that. But then the next day she's on Teen Vogue. And it's a photo op, and it's a wonderful opportunity. So, no, I don't think this is genuine. I think she is carrying water for the establishment, and I don't think she has to do this at all.
That fee rant brought to you by Bitcoin. Buy now. Listen, for the record, guys, I want to be clear here, Frank Fee. I think she's full of shit, right? I really do. I was playing devil's advocate there, but really, if she was for real, she would use her 12.1 million Twitter followers to get people in the street to put pressure on the things we want, like Medicare for all, which she ran on and whatnot. But I mean, there are people also too as well, and I think we were talking about she screams into the air. That's what bothers me. Like the whole CARES Act, she just screams into the air. Now this here is about Robinhood, the next tweet, right? We need to know more about Robinhood's decision to block retail's investors from purchasing stock while hedge funds are freely able to trade the stock as they see fit. As a member of the Financial Services Committee, I'm supporting a hearing if necessary. She's not calling out Janice Yellen. She's not calling out the connections. She never calls out her own party. She never calls out anybody who gets in the way of what's going on. Yeah. So that's why I think she's just full of crap when she screams into the air. But, you know, guys, there are people out there who are saying she's just playing ball now until she gets the power eventually, weathers the storm, and then she takes over the party. Is there any thought process to that, Frank?
So what happened after that tweet?
Exactly.
Wasn't there somebody who agreed with her?
Yeah, so Ted Cruz agreed with her, Frank.
The other party?
Yeah, so Ted Cruz agrees with her, and then he says fully agree, and then she goes on and distracts from the issue, okay, because now the issue, now we're talking about speculation and the little guy getting stomped on, and when he says, I agree, she says, I am happy to work with Republicans on this issue, where there's common ground, but you almost had me murdered 3 weeks ago. So you can sit this one out. Happy to work with almost any other GOP that aren't trying to get me killed. In the meantime, if you want to help, you can resign. And so now we're not talking about Wall Street speculation on the little guy. Now we're talking about AOC and woe is me, how she accuses Cruz, and I don't like Cruz, by the way, not even a little bit. She accuses him hyperbolically of getting her killed. There is like literally no proof of him trying to do that. I'm just going based on the facts here, not because I like him at all. And it's crazy to me, Frank. What do you think about her reaction?
The partisan theatrics just can't stop for AOC. I mean, what a distraction to the important issues that need attention by going back to the stupid narrative that the problem is just the crazy Republicans who are apparently, according to her, responsible for the Capitol storming. And it certainly wasn't because of a lack of transparency in our election. And it certainly wasn't because like our government isn't helping us during a pandemic or in general for that matter. Instead, she's going back into these partisan theatrics to distract people from these major issues. So if Ted Cruz had a D next to his name instead of an R, she would be loving all his tweets. She would have been loving that tweet in which he was agreeing with her. Right. Because I mean, he's for war just like Joe Biden is. He's a pro fracker just like Joe Biden. It's like he's a corporate prostitute just like Joe Biden is. But AOC is just serving the Democrats by having us get distracted in these partisan theatrics, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
She's the great distractor, is what I call her. I mean, she's the great distractor. Anything that's going on right now, nobody's talking about anything what's going on with foreign policy right now with these Democrats. They're just confirming all these people, letting them get in, whether it be Lloyd Austin, whether it be Blinken, all this shit. This is a great meme over here too, and it's this whole it's the OMG kind of mentality right now, where a lot of young people who are involved in politics, I think they really buy into it. Like, oh my God, she was really almost murdered. You know what I'm saying? So here's Caitlin Johnstone with a meme. It's just. Can you see that, Frank?
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay,
funny.
So yeah. I just want to comment on this, okay? Because she got a lot of pushback because of this meme. Nobody is saying they want AOC getting hurt. Like, first of all, and I'm going to speak on behalf of the show. We in no way, shape, or form are claiming that we wanted her or anybody to actually get hurt, even though they are screwing the American people continuously off of from anything that's a basic normal human right that exists in every other country. Let's put that aside. Nobody here is saying they should have been mobbed or lynched or any of that. Okay. But when you are melodramatic, this reminded me, her reaction, and I forgot to say, reminded me of, Frank, I don't know if you've seen telenovelas, but, you know, especially the Mexican ones where the actress is like, like, oh my God, like, Dios mío, like Maria Teresa or whatever the hell it's called. Like, it's insane. Trust me, I've watched enough soap operas to know.
Novelas are great.
I mean, she could be a great telenovela actress. I'm telling you, put her in.
Maybe that's where her career should have been.
Yeah, with the music. with the music, close up on the face and stuff. This one, all she does, listen, she is the most dangerous person right now in Congress because she has such a
You're
huge
gonna
following.
get so much pushback for that.
I mean, no, she's one of the most dangerous person in Congress right now because she is a great distraction. She never calls out a party for anything, and she puts people's minds where it doesn't need to be. I mean, we're not talking about anything of importance because AOC keeps distracting.
Why
from
aren't
what's
you
really going
worried
on.
about Mitch McConnell, Pasta? Why are
Oh,
you
I can't stand
attacking
those guys, too.
Why are you attacking the woman
Because
of
she
color?
was given this so much power, and her whole job was to fight against the establishment. That's why we put her there. And now she's just simply providing cover for them. She provides more cover for the establishment than anybody out there right now. AOC.
So, Pasta and Fee, would you guys say that this is an insult to countries that actually have had like a violent coup in their country, like in Chile in the 70s, like in Indonesia, like all these other countries that the U.S. has intervened in violently, assassinating leaders, and innocent people falling victim to that as well? Like, wouldn't you say that that's kind of insulting?
It is
It's
insulting.
beyond insulting.
It's insulting.
Yeah. When did Congress members become like an untouchable person in society and stuff? They're supposed to be out there fighting for the little guy and stuff like that. They're supposed to put their lives on the line and everything from scrutiny from people in the citizens who don't agree with them. Since when are they now like just higher than ever? And then people just praise them. I was almost murdered. Oh my God! And people are like, OMG, are you okay? Since when did this happen?
I was almost murdered, but I pushed the CARES Act, which literally had so much money over there for our military industrial complex and the militarism and imperialism that we're pushing on everybody. Now we're sanctioning, we're droning, we're going to continue to up that tenfold, but we never talk about these things. This is what I get so angry about the American exceptionalism of, oh my God, this was an insurrection. You guys wouldn't know an insurrection if it hit you, because this is what we actually overthrow and coup and bomb everybody all over the world, and literally our imperialism is beyond racist. But then you have these woke fake leftists who say, oh my God, I can't believe I had to vote for Joe Biden because I wanted to mitigate damage, or oh, I had to do this because I care about people of color. You don't understand what it's like to live in a country in the global South that suffers from U.S. imperialism, that the populations fight amongst each other, and these countries can't get their shit together because the boot of the American the American just foreign policy. The war machine is always there trying to put in whoever they want, and if they don't, they screw that country. That country is forced to, like Venezuela, to enact a more anti-American policy because we try to get in there, and then they still are able to provide to their people far better conditions during a pandemic than we are to our people. Like, it's a joke.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to the caucus leadership. Go ahead, Frank.
Speaking of deferring to caucus, she was talking about Venezuela, and Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden are now recognizing Juan Guaido as the leader there.
Oh yeah.
And then there was like a video of her recently where she was like cutting up vegetables, like saying like that they don't have democracy in Venezuela.
Yeah. She's just ridiculous, and she's pandering to not only the establishment and the war machine, she's pandering to certain constituents in her district too. That's as well.
Hilarious.
And who she was supposed to be like, we all expected her to be like Shama Swan, right? This is the person that and Fee, you put this in the folder, I'm assuming, right? This is a great video right here. Listen to this real quick.
Yeah. So let's just listen to it. Basically, Shama is a city councilwoman in Seattle. They're trying to get rid of her. I'm gonna look more into that. We'll see if we can get her on. But they're basically trying to get rid of her. She's really effective. She is not a Democrat.
Yeah.
She
understands on taking on power.
Of socialist alternatives.
Socialist alternatives are right?
Yeah.
The party's leadership is not on the side of working people. So yes, you are going to be in conflict with them. There is no space, there's no universe where you can be at peace with the power brokers of the establishment and yet win victories for working people. Such a thing is not going to happen. If you want to win victories for working people, you are going to have to take on that conflict. As long as our leaders on the left believe that it is about parliamentary arithmetic and insider tactics, it is going to be a death knell for the movement. We are not going to win Medicare for all by an insider strategy where you think your political capital depends on whether or not Nancy Pelosi is happy with you. Well, Nancy Pelosi is never going to be happy with you if you're going to fight for working people, because Nancy Pelosi is not on the side of working people. It's as simple as that.
Awesome, fam.
She's basically making an argument for force the vote. She's making an argument that AOC is more concerned with making sure she's okay with Pelosi than she is on challenging her. And that's the thing. You're never going to do, you can't say you're fighting for working people if you don't challenge the people blocking legislation from becoming a reality for working people. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. And where's she been on AOC? Where's AOC been on Assange? You know, we were together at the Assange Action for Assange. Where's she been? Nowhere. Zero, zip, zilch. We put up a tweet from Jesse Zerowell, friend of the show. AOC Assange omitted constantly. You know what I'm saying? Constant.
That was a good one.
So, I mean,
yeah.
You know.
Frank, how do you feel about, people who think that, because there's still plenty of people on the respectable people, I will say, on the progressive end, who think that reforming the Democratic Party, continuing to run candidates under the Democratic Party is still a viable, tactic. What do you think about that tactic? Do you still think like it's possible? Like we should even pay enough attention to it?
I think that we need to be telling these people, I mean, look, what is she actually doing systemically to change things? Like we don't do this because we want to like fight with you. We're trying to inform you about the ineffectiveness of AOC and the squad. Like they're now like they're more productive in making the Democratic Party look good than actually helping the working class people. Like we want to help people realize that. Like we're not just doing this because we have a hate for AOC. No, we're doing this because we want to wake you up and to take action instead of sitting down, like sitting on your couch or sitting like in your chair while like hoping that these politicians are going to do the work for you. They're not going to do the work for you. Like you have to apply pressure. Otherwise they're not going to feel it. And AOC and the squad, they're going to feel like they don't have to do anything. Like people are loving them on Twitter. So they're like, oh, I guess I'm doing a good job because people are praising me. You have to actually apply pressure to make them feel the urgency that our country is actually facing right now.
Yeah. And, the fact is that we've talked about it often on the show, the Freedom Caucus that went in there. They weren't establishment Republicans. They were more that Tea Party mentality, but they made what was his name? Cry.
Boehner.
Jeff, is it Jim Boehner or I can't John Boehner, I believe it was.
John Boehner.
He cried because they were like, and we were expecting these squad members, these progressives, to go in there and do the same thing. Make Nancy Pelosi cry and quit because you won't give her away. But she doesn't. And just the other day, Blinken, once again, this guy is the biggest warmonger out there. He now got confirmed. And somebody's calling about it. Here's Tulsi. It's not surprising that the Senate approved Blinken as Secretary of State. After all, he is a warmonger, as are most of the senators in both parties.
I mean,
now she's out of office, but wow.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. I mean, she flat out called him a warmonger. I mean, that's savage. She's out of office, and like I said many times, I don't agree with Tulsi when she says on everything. I politically, she's to the right for me, but at the same time, she's the only one talking about a free press. She's the only one talking about mass surveillance. She's the only one that was talking about the election. She has multiple election bills that these people weren't paying attention to before this election even. And so I just think, to me, like, why is nobody, now that she's gone, there's not a single Democrat that's talking about Julian Assange, the Espionage Act, any of this stuff. It's really sad.
I wish more politicians would accurately call Anthony Blinken and Avril Haines and all these other people in Joe Biden's administration now, like what they actually are, which is warmongers. But they're not going to do it because I guess it's impolite. Like Anthony Blinken helped lead the U.S. into the Iraq war. This is a man who supports the apartheid state of Israel, and he wants Palestinian leaders to not only recognize it as a state, which they already did, but to recognize it as a Jewish state, which would further take away more power from Palestinians.
Yep.
I mean, this is a guy who, along with Biden, again, recognizes Juan Guaido as the leader of Venezuela, which is completely undemocratic and imperialistic because Maduro was democratically elected. People didn't want Guaido. Nobody even knew who the guy was. He's a loser. And then when he came back from the U.S. Like when he was in the airport in Caracas, people were like throwing water at him. Like people don't like this guy. Then so AOC, by not calling out Blinken as either she either lacks knowledge or she's unprincipled. I think that she's just unprincipled because I think she knows this information.
Yeah.
But she's a partisan hack. She cares more about her career and networking with these evil people than she cares about actually fighting these evil corporatists for the working class people.
Yeah. And right now, I just put this up here too as well. You know, we're talking about Blinken, also pro-Syria, Yemen, the whole 9 yards. There wasn't a war that this guy didn't like. In fact, he was mad that Biden wasn't enthused enough about going into Syria full-fledged. But right now, even still, now that he's become Secretary of State, he says the U.S. is deeply concerned about Navalny reviewing response to Russian actors. And they talked about as far as maybe even going in sanctioning, Russia over these actions right here, right?
Yeah.
Now, this guy's an ultra nationalist, right?
Mm-hmm.
He called the people in the Caucasus region cockroaches and stuff. Where's AOC right there? Where's she out there protecting, people with the identity politics now? Where's she? She's nowhere to be found. She's not even talking about this. Why isn't anybody concerned the fact that we're saber rattling with Russia again right out the gate? Does anybody want to say anything about that? Nowhere to be found, AOC. Also, too, as well, Biden has been flexing his military muscle since he's got in there. Biden sends B-52 bomber over Persian Gulf after missile fired on Riyadh. Now, since he's been in office, they've been doing this too as well. So there's been no backup from what's going on. So where's the change at, foreign policy-wise? Where are we mitigating damage by putting Biden into play? He's still flexing his muscle, and nobody's saying nothing about this. The squad hasn't said one word about any of these cabinet picks, whether it be Blinken, whether it be Lloyd Austin, whether it be Avril, whether it be any of these people.
Right.
Even Victoria Nuland is coming back into play, and they haven't said shit. Instead, they want to talk about, you almost got me killed on the Capitol.
Right, because if they didn't talk about that, then they would have to say, oh yeah, we're not going to oppose any of this because we have to be loyal to the Democratic Party, because we have to make sure they raise enough funds, and we have to make sure to not elect any more Republicans in the midterms. So their whole game is always going to be put party first before people. Yeah. And that's the problem. It's like once you go in there, they say, no, in order to be part of this club, you have to have loyalty to the party first. It doesn't matter what your constituents want. You're gonna be loyal to the party first. And if you drift away from that, you're gonna be punished. And so what do? They bow down and they do what the party wants them to do. And so this is why you do not go and continue electing progressives to go into this party. And people are like, well, they won. No, wait till 2022. You're gonna see Republicans take over, unless there's some massive election shenanigans. I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is possible. It is possible, but like. I just do, like, this is insane. I mean, they think that they can continue to do this, and people are just going to continue not paying attention, and I don't see that happening anymore.
And Frank, here's the big one too as well. I want you to get your reactions on this, because we all met at the Force to Vote, right? We all went out there to fight for Medicare for all. It's what these progressives campaigned on. It's what they all got elected on. Here's one of the biggest last kicks in the teeth from the executive order frenzy that Biden's been going on. President Biden signs executive order with focus on restoring the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. That means there is no talk. They're going to shelve any talk about Medicare, health care whatsoever. It's getting put in the work. You're not getting Medicare for all. All you get is the Affordable Care Act. You have to get back on your insurance. Take it. It's in your face, and nobody says any. Why hasn't AOC or the squad or anybody who's for Medicare for all say anything about this? Because this essentially means that all you're getting is the Affordable Care Act under Biden. You're not getting Medicare for all. And where is she at on this? Silent. Go ahead, Frank.
And where is like half of independent progressive YouTube pressuring AOC to say something? Like I thought, like all these people that were against forced to vote. Because there was going to be like a better alternative in their minds, like that we shouldn't be pressuring AOC to be for forced to vote. Okay, what is she doing then? Like she already voted for Nancy Pelosi. All right, now what is she going to do? She's going to let this pass? This reminds me of what she said a couple months ago, where she was like, "Oh, if we get the public option, then so be it." Like that tells me that she doesn't feel the urgency. And that's why it's so important for people, and especially people with platforms like you guys, which I'm really happy that you put pressure on these politicians, is to raise awareness and to make these politicians feel the urgency. There's so many Americans that are suffering right now from lack of healthcare, and then this is the BS that we get under the lesser evil, Joe Biden.
Yeah. The lesser of two evils. This is mitigating damage.
And just the worst part about the ACA is that if you had a Republican in there, you have more of the progressives being angry. It's a Republican. Let's fight for healthcare. Da 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 da. Now with the ACA, they're going to say, well, maybe we can get Joe Biden to listen to Bernie's Medicare for All during the pandemic thing. By the time they even say, let's say they even do that, because they won't. The pandemic will be over, and then you don't get it anyway. So what? Yeah. I mean, this has already been happening for a year almost. And they haven't given you health care. At this point, we need like medical debt forgiveness for the money some of these people are in debt for. We need, like, at the very least, insulin. What Biden did with the insulin. I mean, why is nobody talking about that? Why are they like so silent on this? Oh, well, you know, it wasn't gonna do it wasn't helping people anyway. Yes, it was. Getting cheap insulin is helping people, no matter how you twist it, no matter how you want to say Trump did this and that. It doesn't matter. Like, the fact is, they are denying you health care during a fucking pandemic, and the woman and the squad who ran on Medicare for All, who have masks and T-shirts that say Medicare for All, literally, and who make money off of that merch, are not pushing for Medicare for All, including Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
Who have changed their language around Medicare. They don't even say Medicare for All. They'll say things like access to healthcare, the things that we criticize. Warren, Harris, Cory Booker, all these people. And the things Tulsi got criticized for when she changed the name to whatever, I think it was something
Single
choice or something.
Plus. But originally they were giving her crap because she was saying Medicare Choice, and they're like, oh, it's Pete Buttigieg's plan, but then she changed to Single Payer Plus.
Yeah.
But yeah, and now that AOC saying like access to healthcare, like,
they're
that is a very dangerous word to use.
Yeah. A lot worse than choice. And let's not also forget that Joe Biden gave subsidies, and Fred Edward mentioned it out, to Cobra. He gave to the highest paid insurance out there. He's like, oh, here's subsidies. He gave federal tax dollars to Cobra to keep them afloat. Please.